Alright, welcome back to another Embrace Destiny video, everyone. Kaz PhD, and today we are standing on the surface of Titan, taking a look at Saturn. Before we get started, I want to thank you very much for clicking the link and checking this video out today, and thanks to my slowly but surely growing number of subscribers. It's really nice to know that people enjoy what I'm Titan. Destiny 2 features a number of new worlds and explorable places, as you've probably heard. And Titan is one of them, but more importantly, we are actually saying goodbye to something real, in real life. So, today marks the last day of the Cassini mission. It's a robotic probe that's been orbiting Saturn for the last almost 2 decades, and today's video is just paying a little bit of tribute to that. And I thought what better way to do that than to go as close as possible to Saturn in Destiny 2. So a little background information. The Cassini mission was launched in 1997. Now, that may seem like forever ago to some of you, it may seem like yesterday to a few other of you. But to put that into context, Duke Nukem Forever was actually started to be developed in 1997. And even more interestingly, the Nintendo the Nintendo 64 came out in 1997. So think about that. A computer that was designed to go and orbit around Saturn was running off of a computer not much more intelligent than a Nintendo 64. I mean, you know, plus or minus what the government had access to, and etc. Plus, if you go and watch any, any video with any kind of graphics or anything like that from '97, you'll know that, well, the computing at that point was pretty straightforward. The program was actually a really great international success story because the mission was contracted and was organized by the NASA's Jet Propulsion Laboratory, but there was also considerable cooperation with the European Space Agency and the Thales Alenia Space Group in Europe. So basically, JPL, you know, kind of designed the mission and designed and orchestrated the mission, and Thales was responsible for constructing the main bus, as well as constructing the Huygens probe. We're going to get into that in a moment. So, Cassini, kind of an odd name, don't you think, for a spacecraft? I mean, I guess it's nowhere near as unusual as Rosetta or Viking or anything like that. Where did it come from? Well, as most of these things, Cassini was named after an astronomer who happened to actually discover the rings of Saturn, as well as 4 of its main moons. And Huygens, which was, for this context, it was a mission that was kind of added on to the side of Cassini, was named after a Dutch astronomer who discovered the planet of Titan. A little bit of statistical information for you. The entire package weighed about 2,500 kilograms, and that's not including the fuel. That's just... sorry. There we go. Trying to get out of the action a little bit. 2,500 kilograms is not including the fuel. If you include it, you basically double the mass. But the whole system ran for less than 1 kilowatt of power. Yeah, so I mean, my TV is probably somewhere around 400 watts, so maybe the entire system I'm using today to stream this is probably using more power than the Cassini probe does. It's running off of something called a radioisotope thermic generator. Sorry about that, easier to say when you're not doing it live. It uses nuclear power. It's using about 32.7 kilograms of plutonium-238. And that obviously has a half-life long enough to support it running for the last 20 years, basically. What else? Just kind of running around here. The Cassini spacecraft itself is 22 feet long, or 7 meters long if you like that system. It's 13 feet wide, or 4 meters wide. And most impressively, it contains 1,630 interconnected electronic parts, including, read my notes, 14 kilometers of cabling. That's right. So something that's only about 22 meters long actually contains about 14 kilometers of cable, which I think is just crazy. Imagine trying to pack that in there. So I said the mission's been running for about 2 decades. What's it been doing? Well, first, it actually flew by Venus. Yeah, you're probably thinking, but it's going from Earth to Saturn. Why would it do that? But Cassini is all about gravitational billiards, or gravitational pool. Basically, you use the mass of other objects to pull you toward it, and then you narrowly miss that object so you don't fall into its orbit, into its gravity well. And you've probably heard of the slingshot maneuver. It's also known as the Oberth effect. And it's, yeah, it's a solid means of mass gravitational propulsion in space. So it flew around Venus, gained enough momentum that it came actually back toward Earth, flew past Earth, gaining even more speed, flew past Jupiter as well in, I think it was 2002, yeah, and officially entered into orbit around Saturn in 2004. In 2005, the Huygens probe, which is only a 350 kilogram piece of the entire puzzle, actually dropped down on Titan, and which is why our video is taking place here. Now, obviously this is a video game, this is not real, and many licenses have been, many poetic licenses have been used in order to try and represent Titan in this video game. We don't have any colonies on Titan, but there are actually lakes, as you're seeing here. You know, these are embellished and artistic and seem to be full of some kind of electrical static, but thanks to Cassini and to the Huygens probe, we discovered that Titan is other than Earth, is one of the only bodies in their solar system that actually contains lakes. But instead of water, they're actually full of ethane and methane. The gravity on Titan is much lower than that we experience on Earth. It's about 1/10 of the experience, and I guess that's kind of the reason why we're seeing these giant waves here, because if the gravity is much lower, then any gravitational pull from Saturn, let's say, would cause extremely high tides. Interestingly enough, in Destiny 2, they actually somewhat try to explain why we're able to just walk around normally and jump without just flying off because of the difference in gravity. They basically chalk it up to space magic, which sounds ridiculous, but I thought it was kind of nice that they pinpointed, that they actually addressed it. One of the alien races in this game, the one that was responsible for making this, basically has placed these crystals around the environment which stabilize the gravity. And I thought that was a nice touch, because Destiny 1 never made any mention of it, and it was always kind of oddly lacking to me why we could just run around the moon no problem. Let's take a look. Several discoveries done by the Cassini and Huygens probe. The Huygens probe actually sent back about 350 images of Titan. It should have sent more, but one of the antennas actually, I think it was one of the antennas or one of the transponders actually malfunctioned, losing about another 350 images. But Cassini has been, it's been floating around. It's been darting in and out of the moons and the rings of Saturn for the last almost 2 decades, as I said. It's discovered a salty water ocean on Enceladus, another moon of Saturn. It's, let's see, it's flown between the rings, discovered 7 new moons, and you may have seen images of the northern hexagonal region of Saturn. Basically, if you look at the North Pole of Saturn, the atmospheric gases that move around there seem to swirl in a very defined hexagon, which is just really strange and interesting. We're not entirely sure why that is yet. So, coming back to Destiny 2, I mean, I haven't looked too far into the lore, but Titan seems to have been a place where humanity tried to establish, a deep space colony. There's all these, I like the infrastructure. There's a lot of vertical space, a lot of nooks and crannies to explore, and it's all based on these, ooh, there's a beast I just saw in the water. It's all based on these platforms that are floating out here and actually using the waves to generate energy, it's all a really neat concept. So I won't get too far into that because today's a little bit more about real life. So, today, as I said, Cassini is actually crashing into the atmosphere of Saturn. It could have been left to just float around, maybe crash into one of the moons, or just die out eventually, but NASA made the choice to actually crash it into the planet. And you may be asking why. I mean, it was still working. Why would they do that? The main answer is actually because of how successful Cassini has been. Basically, when they put this thing up there, they thought, yeah, let's go, we'll discover Saturn, it'll be a great mission, put a lot of money into it, it'll be great for the science community. And what they did not expect is that they would see so much evidence of water and possible prebiotic chemistry and methane, and all of these things point to a possible presence of life, or at least the building blocks for the presence of life. And simply put, they didn't want to have a radio thermonuclear generator plus all the microbes and probes that are, no matter how well you clean a spacecraft, it's going to be full of them. They didn't want that to contaminate either future research or the possible future development of life in the Saturn system, which I thought was really cool. So yes, Cassini is a victim of its own success, and because of that, it has to be destroyed. So I don't know what that has to say about real life, but I'm sure there's a metaphor or two to be made there. The grand finale actually finished, let me think, a few hours ago, my time, as I'm recording this, about 5 a.m. Pacific. And yeah, it's, I mean, in the science community, it's the missions have been extended twice, so it's already been a success several times, and this is just kind of an opportunity to officially say goodbye to it. Personally, I've always loved the Cassini mission. I think it's my favorite, probably my favorite mission, my favorite spacecraft, for a number of reasons. It's highly successful. It's orbiting Saturn and all the moons, which is just like, it's just exciting and interesting. It simple in design, yet very effective, and it's inspiring. I mean, engineers are often guilty of over-designing things, especially in the space industry. You know, a satellite that's meant to last for 7 years is actually built, can last for, maybe 10 or 12. But, yeah, we've learned a lot about Saturn. It went from kind of a hazy image from the Pioneer days and Voyager days to a planet with, atmospheric bands, which were also discovered by, more so discovered by Cassini. And the rings we've seen in greater profile, and we know more about the chemistry, the formation, and the configuration of the outer system. So, anyway, it's a bit of a long-winded video, kind of all over the place, a little rambly, but I hope you enjoy. For more information, I've included a link or two below. I hope you look into it with further research. NASA is looking to go back out there. We've already got a probe around Jupiter right now, and we're looking at, NASA's looking at sending another probe out to explore Enceladus, that planet or that moon that may have a water ocean, as well as Europa, another moon, this one of Jupiter, which may have a water ocean. And Titan has always been a strong contender for more exploration. It's been the source of inspiration for many science fiction books because of the lakes of methane. Some of them are even larger than the Great Lakes seen in North America. So anyway, I hope you enjoy. I hope if you've been playing Destiny 2, I hope you like it. I hope when you're running around shooting bad guys that you realize that yeah, the real-world connections. I thought it was really fitting that when Cassini was finishing its mission, now we're taking a step out there in the game. I hope in real life that you continue to read and be inspired by these things. If you have any questions or comments, feel free to leave them below. Thank you very much for watching and for hanging out, and I will see you out there. Bye now.